Hello and welcome to week 5 in psychology seminar, and we are taking on chapter 4, which is really an exploration of the technology that is involved in the psychology program and the kind of apps that I use, the kind of materials that I use, those kinds of things. I believe that college is really a good opportunity to stretch your wings a little bit in terms of understanding all kinds of different technologies, different platforms. Although I'm a Mac user, using Windows, using Macs, using iOS, using Android, using what you want to be is agnostic. You want to be technology agnostic. When somebody needs a paper that's written, you should be able to use any software. If you want a presentation to be done, you should be able to use Google Slides, you should be able to use Keynote, be able to use PowerPoint, whatever it is. They all pretty much do the same thing. We're just really, working in that area of compatibility between different systems, and maybe you have to convert files or something like that. So I try to embed that kind of content into this program so that all my students, no matter what, they graduate from this program, they go to the next program, whatever their next job or whatever system that they're using, they get it. They have the skill to be able to go in, learn how that particular system works, and get right to work. So particularly to this chapter, we're looking at just a review of the technology in this program, that there is a lot of technology. There's a lot of online stuff that goes along with this program. And there's just a discussion, and that is to share with the class your technology. What is your favorite stuff? What is your stuff that makes you feel productive? What are the apps that you have that you use both on your maybe your computer, your tablet, your phone? Is it all the same thing? Just sharing, how you've been able to take technology and harness it for productivity and to manage things in your life. So that's the discussion that goes along with chapter 4. Last week, it was hidden to the point that I didn't even see it. So I got to give you a break on that one. Last week was supposed to be the start of our discussions about Steven Pinker's book. Now, just so you know, there's a lot of free resources in my courses. Along comes a few of them you actually have to buy. So there's no free download for Steven Pinker's book. You got to go buy it. It's available on Amazon. It's available used. It's available in libraries probably. So avail yourself to that book. The other book that's comes up in this class is one that you should get that will help you for the remainder of this course, and that is the APA Style Guide. I have links to that in the course, and all of that. So make sure that you buy those materials. There's not a whole lot of things to buy in this program. So, but in the special assignment, this is a book by Steven Pinker, a psychologist who was looking at the world and found that there was a tendency to move away from trusting science to logical thinking to much more impassioned, manipulative type of dialogue that we see pervading primarily in the political atmosphere right now. This runs counter to the advances that we have made as human beings since the Enlightenment. Hence, that's the title, Enlightenment Now. How important it is for us to hold on to these ideas that surfaced, brought us out of the quote-unquote dark ages into the Enlightenment, which was a profound advancing of human knowledge, science, and whatnot. In fact, there's been if you study the way knowledge has happened, that for one, a lot of what came out in the Enlightenment period and the Renaissance and all that stuff had been stuff that was the world of intelligentsia way back was the Greeks, and then the Muslim community, just advanced science all over Europe. And then with changes in terms of that happened during what we call the Dark Ages. A lot of that material from the Muslim world was suppressed, and copies were burned, and such. It's a tragedy of all that knowledge coming from one of the most rich cultures that has ever existed on Earth. And then it wasn't until the Enlightenment that we started going back and we started looking at those original Greek and started looking at what survived from the Muslim rise in technology. And interestingly enough, the Dark Ages, a little bit of history here, the Dark Ages were really not that dark. During the Dark Ages is when we created, well, in the West, created all these universities and centers of learning, primarily centered around monasteries, the church really investing a lot into the study of thought and what would give birth to psychology and biology and chemistry and physics, astronomy, medicine, all of these things. So it really wasn't that dark. There was a lot of mysticism. There was a lot of people that were uneducated, were illiterate, and all that stuff, and we saw those changes. But we refer to them as the Dark Ages because there was a sort of dip in the quality of life on a universal basis. Lots of inequality and whatnot. And along came the Renaissance. Didn't solve inequality, but the advances that came from that point, advanced human beings, continue to do so. And the argument that Pinker is making is that we must not let go of the progress that has been made. And therein lies the real catch to this material, is that we are living currently in one of the safest, least prone to violence, most educated, most well-fed, most healthy time in human history. And it boggles the mind when we think about what we hear in the news. And this is a contrasting argument about the reality of things and how the news is used to cause fear and trepidation, to move people within political directions for the sake of power and control. Yet, there is this very, very large movement of enlightenment that has been going on for centuries now, and we must learn about it, appreciate it, protect it, and ensure that it goes on. So there's quite a message in this reading. This reading is not easy reading. This is dense material, but it is for a public audience. It's not a scientific psychology book or anything. It is for you and I. But it requires a lot of thought, requires a lot of very attentive reading to the material, maybe looking up words you don't understand. I had to look things up and confirm and confront my own biases. That was a huge part of encountering this book. And I wanted to share it with all of my students coming into this class. So this week, officially, I've moved some things around. This week, we start that process. Our first special assignment, Part 1 discussion. All of this is outlined in the course book. Part 1 has you simply reading chapters 1 through 3, the first 3 chapters of the Pinker book, and commenting on what you've learned about Pinker's perspective, about enlightenment, about logic, about our cognitive prowess in terms of solving problems, and all of those things. There's already been some participation in this discussion from last week, so some of it's already going on. So hop in there, participate in this discussion. This is required. It is graded. Be sure that you do this part. I think it's an important aspect of understanding a real fundamental foundation of the science of psychology is really built upon these ideas that were came to the front in the Renaissance and the Enlightenment era. So that's it for this week. I look forward to these discussions online, and have a great week and take care.